Welcome into the Carlow Women's Basketball Season Preview here on the Carlow Sports Network. I'm Sean Myers, joined by the first-year head coach, Dave Gordon. Dave, thank you so much for taking the time to do this. Have a chance to sit down and talk to you finally on video. So how's everything been with you?
Everything's been good, Sean. Thanks for having me, man. Everything's been good, man. Excited to get the season started.
Well, yeah, there should be a lot of excitement. You've been an assistant for a long, long time with Coach Kiefer on the men's side. Now you take over on the women's side just a few weeks ago. So how has the transition been?
It's been good, man. The ladies been welcoming me with open arms. They've been, adapting to what we're doing and just, eager to get started, eager to start winning. We've kind of just been at the process of just trying to connect with each other, being consistent and competing. So we're just laying the foundation of our program, and they're receptive.
I'm sure that there's some pretty notable differences between being a men's assistant and then the head man for the women's team. So what are the differences in those roles?
Well, I think now I get blamed for the mistakes. Before Coach Kiefer shielded me for a lot of the dumb decisions that I made. He gave me a lot of autonomy to make decisions during games and practices, and he took the blame for a lot of dumb decisions. So now I think outside of the administrative things, I kind of get the credit or the blame for the dumb decisions.
Yeah, all the wins and all the losses now go on your record. So you've been around Carlow for a long time, as we mentioned, as an assistant coach, but also in an administrative position. So you're always in the building. I see you a lot. Did that help build familiarity with some of these players that you've now inherited?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because a lot of the members of the team actually got a chance to meet in other capacities in the university. As actually being an academic coach or compliance coordinator. So yeah, it did help, and then also traveling with them, I was able to see a lot of them and actually able to get to meet them and talk to them and see their games a little bit.
What do you think your best attribute is as a coach?
I think it's my detail, my attention to detail. I think it's bringing energy every day to practice and just having a detailed plan and a vision for our student athletes.
So you're going to have a new coaching staff. How do you kind of formulate that?
Well, since we started late, we want to try to find people that's a good fit. Currently, Alan Duda, our head soccer coach, he'll be coming along to help me out. Basically, he'll be in charge of scouting and some recruiting things and some agility type work and defensive work. But the other people, we just want a good fit. We want a fit for the culture that we're creating, a positive connection. We want to make sure we have positive communication, we're connected, and we're competing.
I know you're still learning your team, but what do you think maybe the strengths might be this year?
Oh man, the strengths is that we're multiple, we're fast, and we're feisty. We have a roster of girls that can do a lot of different things and have a lot of different skill sets. And I'm looking forward to utilizing them skill sets in different positions.
I know you were around the women's team enough to recognize that some of the players that graduated were key contributors. Jelly Orozco, Keegan Brownlee, Caitlin Trombley, Carly Lazar. They were all big-time players. So maybe what void has that created with their graduation?
Well, it feels it's somewhat a leadership void, but we have a lot of students that's going to step up that learned a lot from those individuals, and they're carrying on the tradition that those individuals left behind. So they're the ones that's leading practice with communication, positive feedback. So a lot of times it's going to be a lot of them, but they're stepping up and leading by example with what those young ladies left behind.
We're going to be interviewing a couple of these players momentarily, but who are the key returners to the team, and what are the expectations you have for them?
Well, our expectations for our key returners are Megan Osh, Brianna Evans, Sydney Carr, Jada Bass, and our expectations is for them just to kind of come and bring the energy every day and compete every day, to compete hard in the Celtic way.
Let's talk about the newcomers to the program. Who are maybe some players who have stood out, and how do you expect them to contribute?
Oh, man, we have several new players and how I expect them to contribute. Emily Hillgardner, she's a young guard. She's very poised, know how to play the game, know how to get us in sets. So I think she's going to help us out with ball pressure and just getting us into our sets and getting us to the right thing and making right decisions. Also, Amani Ruff, she's another young guard that came from Maryland. She's a very good shooter, and she attacks the basket well and a very good ball pressure pass that we need.
Well, you talked about some of the players who graduated left a little bit of a leadership void. You have just one senior on this team now, so where will the leadership come from?
Well, it will come from Brianna Evans, who you'll interview later. It will come from Elena Butler. It will come from Shay Clark. It will come from Sydney Carr. We have couple people that would step up and make it and fill that leadership role.
What have you said in terms of team goals?
championship. That's why we play. And I know it seems, kind of everybody's eyes kind of get bigger when I say that coming from Carlow, but we play sports to win championships. So our team goal is to win a championship. We're looking to cut nets down.
I know you're probably better suited to answer this question on the men's side, but get the focus for the women's side. How do you evaluate the landscape of the River States Conference, even though you've not coached against any of these teams?
Tough, man. I mean, just in our conference alone, looking at West Virginia Tech and IU East, and it's just tough, man. These girls can play. They play their scheme. They play together, so it's tough. Even from the little games that I've seen, they all play together and they're all system-oriented. Whereas the men's side, you might have some teams that's more ISO and one or two players that can really kill you or really hurt you. What I'm noticing on the women's side is whole teams that can really, in their schemes, get you.
What stands out about the non-conference schedule?
Challenging, man. We'll see a lot of AMCC teams in it. So it's challenging because it's actually going to be our introduction to these teams and playing with these teams and traveling up there and, getting the feel. So I think it's just going to be challenging just going into a new kind of arena, playing new schools.
Well, the AMCC, one of the benefits moving there next season will be the much shorter trips. But in the meantime, you're still going to have some long bus rides. So how can you make the travel productive?
Well, we want to keep it as close to our regular practice as possible. So we want to make sure when we travel, one, we know it's a business trip. We have our study tables. Two, when we get to the hotel, we still have our team meetings. We still have our connection meetings. And then we still have our shoot-arounds in practice and kind of keep that around the same time. So we want to just keep it as close as if we were in Pittsburgh as possible.
Lastly, you're closing in on a decade now here at Carlow. So what's your favorite part of working here?
I love the students and the people, man. I love sewing into the students and playing a small part to spark the mind of someone to change the world. So I just love the students and I love just helping them get on with their life's work. So.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for doing this. As I said, I've seen you many times over the years on the men's side. Looking forward to now you guiding this women's program.
Yeah, thanks, Sean. Appreciate you.
That's Dave Gordon, first-year head coach for women's basketball here on the season preview. We continue here on the season preview for Carlow women's basketball, the 2022-2023 season. I'm now joined by one of the juniors, Bree Evans. First off, Bree, thanks for taking the time. How's everything gone with you throughout the offseason?
Pretty good. We've put in a lot of work in the weight room, and I've been running in the summer and trying to just get myself in better shape than I have been in the past.
Hopefully it pays off, but let's rewind a little bit to a year ago. How did you evaluate your play in 2021-2022?
I feel like it could be classified as like my breakout year. I feel like I played way more than I did the previous year. I still feel like I didn't contribute as much as I could have, but I did step into a new role. I was more of a big last year, and I know when I came, he had initially brought me in as a guard, and I was fine with that, but last year we needed people to step up as bigs because we had like injuries and ineligibility and stuff, so I just stepped into that role. So I did a lot of learning last year. Although I still tried my best, I feel like I could do much better this year.
Well, I know you said you were working hard to get in great shape throughout the offseason. What else has been maybe an area of focus?
Post work, for sure. Like I said, I want to be able to like handle myself down low, especially I'm only 5'7", so working with the bigger girls, I have to have like things in my back pocket that I can pull out, and one of those being strength, being able to jump higher than before, and just knowing what to do when I get the ball down there.
Well, 5'7", you can easily call that 5'9" on a roster and
Right,
maybe intimidate the opponents a little bit more. You have a new head coach, and he's a guy who's been around Carlow with the men's team. It's Dave Gordon, who now takes over. So what are maybe the biggest differences between he and his predecessor, Albert DeSalvo?
Probably just working on basic fundamental skills. Albert DeSalvo was great. We loved him. But we did a lot of the same stuff at practice. We would come in and do a shooting drill, and then we would do maybe a passing drill, and then we would play, which is great because one of the best ways to practice is to play. But with Dave, we come in, we work on different parts that come together to make the whole. And so now when we scrimmage or when we get into a drill where we're running the court, we do a lot of the little things correct now because we actually take the time to work on them in practice. So I feel like that's going to benefit us a lot.
There were some really good players from last year's team who have moved on due to graduation. What are you going to miss most about that group?
I'm going to miss their positivity and their leadership in the sense of they were just really good friends to us on the team. They always picked you up if you felt like you weren't capable, and they definitely knew how to make us laugh, but I feel like a lot of us really relied on them last year, like me personally, I knew I didn't have to contribute too much because they were in the game way more than me. And I kind of felt like, okay, well, this isn't on me because I'm not in that much. And I feel like this year it's going to benefit us because we have a lot of girls that I know can step up into leadership positions and like kind of take that role. And I feel like it's just going to benefit a lot of us to be able to step up.
Well, now that you're an upperclassman, I'm sure you pay attention to the new players that come in and try to help them as well, return the favor. So who are some newcomers who have impressed you?
The very first day we played pickup, Imari Stinnett came into the gym and completely wowed me and the other captains. She just can finish so well down low. She plays so aggressive. She's so quiet, so you never expect it from her, but she came in and she just like gave her all that first day, and we all walked out of the gym extremely impressed with her. She's continued to impress us. She actually has like a mild concussion right now, so we're really hoping to get her back quickly. But another one is Emily Hillgartner. She's more of a guard, but she's not afraid to shoot when she has the open shot. She drives aggressively. She'll bring the ball up the court. She's just not shy, and that's like what we need in our freshmen.
So what objectives have you set in terms of team goals and then maybe on a personal level?
On a personal level, I want to break through more on defense because I know in high school that was kind of like my forte. So I want to get back into that in college, and I feel like that also translates to the team as a whole. I know last year we let up a lot of points in the games, and so this year our goal is to hold teams to 12 to 15 points a quarter. And in practice, we've really been working on where to be on defense and talking and like communicating is the biggest thing. I would say as a team, our biggest goal is defense this year.
You are a local player from McKeesport, so I'm sure you're familiar with some of the schools in your future conference, the AMCC. What was your reaction when you heard that Carlow would be making that move next season?
I don't want to say disappointed because that's not the right word. I just feel like I don't want people to think we gave up or that we weren't good enough, but I am excited to play teams that are like a different skill level than what we've seen before. I feel like in NCAA we could really make a winning run, and I feel like we have a much better chance of like showing people what we actually have.
And I'm sure you'll probably even see some players that you're familiar with from the WPIAL as well. Lastly, fill in the blank. This season will be considered a success if
we remain positive in the face of adversity and we continue to stay strong as a team instead of kind of falling into the negativity and the blame game and just turning on each other.
That sounded like a coach answer right there. So well done. I'm sure that Coach Gordon will be very happy to hear that. Bree, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Thank you for having me.
That's Bree Evans, a junior for the Celtics here on the season preview. We roll along here on the Carlow season preview for women's basketball, and I'm joined by senior Megan Ost. Megan, first off, I know this is not the first time we talk, so thanks for doing this again.
Yeah,
How's
no
everything
problem.
been with you?
It's been good. I actually recently got engaged, and
Congrats.
Yeah, so that's exciting, and I'm ready just to graduate.
Well, this is your final year with the Celtics. How have you grown as a player throughout your time here?
Oh, geez. I feel like I came in very naive and very staying at the block oriented, and now I'm starting to work on my outside game a little bit, so I think that I've just changed more my circumference of where I normally played.
Let's talk about what you think maybe your best attribute is. I know you have a lot of them, but what do you think maybe stands out most about you?
I think it still would have to be my left hand and posting up and stuff. I think that's just what I'm so comfortable in, and I'm excited to change that up this season.
A lot of youth on this roster. You're the only senior here. So do you think that that brings added responsibility for you?
I think leadership-wise it does, but I also think that most of the players coming in this year are very mature, and they have just funneled into the team very well, and I don't consider them mainly young or freshmen. I think that they're just parts to a team that we were missing, so it's going to be great this year.
We already heard from him. The new head coach, Dave Gordon, had been a longtime men's basketball assistant. So how has that acclimation process gone for him with meeting the team?
So I think it has gone really smoothly. I think that it came to a shock that we were missing a coach this season, and then he showed up from day one and has been very positive and encouraging, and I think the team has just bought into it. So I think that we honestly, as a team, have been okay.
You have now played under 3 different head coaches during your time here at Carlow. So what are maybe the positives and the drawbacks to that?
Some pros I would have to say is that I got exposure to 3 different techniques, 3 different coaching philosophies and that kind of thing. As far as cons, it not necessarily a con would have to be that I have not been able to become complacent and expect one certain thing, which honestly is a pro because I'm not complacent and I'm able to just transition.
Keeping you on your toes,
Yes,
certainly.
yes.
So I know that the Celtics, they won 7 games last year, but ultimately couldn't get the victory in the conference play.
Yeah.
So how do you ultimately handle those struggles in the River States?
Oh, not well. I would have to say that that definitely was a killer last year, losing those games. But I think it honestly adds to the motivation to want to win this year and come out with a winning season and get back all those losses that we had last year.
Well, the motivation is there. How do you now get to that level where you are winning conference games?
I think that comes with a new coaching philosophy. I think that we have transitioned our game from like cookie cutter type of plays to wanting to transition and run the ball and do a lot more things fast paced. So I think that that will help towards our winning record.
What are some goals that you've set for yourself and for the team as a whole?
Oh, as a team, I think 1, winning record. 2, just gelling as a team and learning each individual's pros and cons and using that to our advantage. As personally, my goal this year is to learn to play outside a little bit better and hopefully reach my 1,000 points.
There you go. Fingers crossed for
Yes.
that. Is there any one or maybe multiple players that you think are going to have a breakout season?
Oh, yes. I think a lot of freshmen are going to come in and shock. Emily, for sure, our one freshman, and then Jada Bass, our junior this year. She has 100% been so positive throughout her time here, and I think that she is about to have a breakout season.
Is there a game or maybe multiple games that you're really most looking forward to?
The championship game, we're going bold. I think this is our year to win. So that game, as well as every other game that I get to play my senior year, is the games I'm looking forward to.
Love the confidence.
Yes.
Lastly, I'm sure you're going to add some moments to this when it's all said and done after this year, but to this point of your career, what moment really stands out for you most?
It would still have to probably be the Virgin Islands, my freshman year, going down there and just experiencing something. It's still in the country, but something out of this area.
Well, Megan, thanks so much once again for taking the time to do this, and we'll look forward to another great season from you.
Thank you.
That's senior Megan Ost right here on the Celtics Women's Basketball Season Preview.